So there will be minor spoilers in this review for Wolfscreen. So if you want to go watch a show, then go watch it and you can come back. Or if you don't really care, then let's get to this. So I just want to kind of explain the whole world overall. So basically, there's these wolves, and they can make people see them as human, but they actually aren't, like, human. They don't actually turn into humans. They just kind of make people, see them as human. And they're attracted to these flowers, this certain type of flower. But the flower isn't a flower, it's actually a girl. But the girl is not a girl, she's a flower, okay? But she's not a wolf. I just want to get that clear to you right now. This is how they explain in the show. She's not a wolf, she's a flower. But also not a flower, she's a girl, but not a girl, she's a flower. So I just want to get that in your head right now. And they have these other things like domes or whatever, and they throw a lot of stuff in your face in this anime. And the world building in this whole show sucks. It sucks so much. Like, they don't explain anything to you in this show, and it kind of sucks. Like, they just kind of throw everything at you, and it just feels very off. They have these people called nobles, which is like the higher up people in the world or whatever, and they look straight up out of Final Fantasy. And they even have like Final Fantasy freaking like vehicles and stuff, and I wonder if like the show actually took inspiration from the character designs, which is fine, but like the world structure of how everything looked from like the post-apocalyptic world and everything, it doesn't fit with the nobles. Like, nothing fit with the nobles. It just felt very off and felt like a totally different show, like they were trying to make or whatever. And it just never worked with the wolves, and how it was very like, it was very environmental, like not environmental, but like it looked like a very wood kind of, wolf wild thing. But then they have these techno magic stuff with the nobles, and it just felt very not right. It overall, like, and they even tried to like they explain a lot of stuff in the show with just magic. They're just like magic, 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 magic. Like, all that stuff that happens in the show is magic, and they just throw it in your face. And I don't want to get into the whole lot here of like what happens, because they do throw a bunch in your face of just randomness, and it's just all magic filled, and it is like, why are you doing this? But I just want to kind of get into like the show, like with the characters, and the characters don't really amount to much in this show. They don't develop, and they're just kind of characterized at the beginning, but they just never really develop at all. And I mean, they tried with like one character at the beginning, but then they dropped it immediately for some reason, and then they just kind of went on their journey. It's very weird. And this is a adventure show, so like they go around with like, through the world or whatever. And the main character is probably like the worst character, I would have to say. I mean, really, he does not like have any emotion. He just kind of has a set plan. He just kind of goes forward. He doesn't really like. He just kind of has one thing on his mind the whole time. He doesn't really stop and smell the flowers, or like stop and really focus on any have any relationships with any of the other characters in the show. And there's these other characters like the humans and everything. And there is the best character is probably the dog named Blue, who is, she has a clear struggle and then like an identity crisis and everything of her and everything and what's going on with her, and also the old man that's with her or whatever. And Blue is the dog who like tracks down the wolves or whatever and tries to kill them or whatever. And there's this clear struggle with her, and then also the old man and everything. And that really was good part of the show. Like, I really enjoyed that story that they were telling with Blue and the old man. And I'll show you pictures of that on the screen. But there's also like, there's a complaint here. Like, they have these wolves, okay, and they're just regular wolves. It's not like, the only thing is that they can make people see them as human. But like, they have these Superman powers where they can like leap tall buildings. Like, and I'm just like, I know wolves are strong motherfuckers, but like, I didn't know they could leap tall buildings. Like, they could leap from the ground to the freaking, they can leap tall buildings in a single bound. I'm just like, holy shit. I'm just like, I didn't know wolves were that strong. But like, it's very like weird and inconsistent in how strong they can be. Like, sometimes they have superpowers, and then sometimes they just kind of are like regular wolves. It's very weird. They tried to give like different characters relationships in this anime. It didn't feel right. Like, none of it was very focused on, and it was very rushed. And I just it just really didn't make any sense, like, on the overall scale. There was these other characters too, these two human characters or whatever. They didn't really amount to much, and they're really just kind of there for like shock factor at the end when they died. Like, I'm spoilers, but they died. And I'm not gonna like say it's a spoiler, because it, you don't really care for them. Like it's not really anything really. The characters want to protect Cheza, and Cheza is the flower who is the not a flower but a girl, and not girl but a flower, but also not a wolf. I don't. But like, you know, they want to protect her, and I can understand this. The wolves have an attraction to the flower, and I understand this. So they kind of already attracted to her, and they kind of get her, but they needed to have that development and bond together when they were together in their journey. With the flower girl to really set forth that growth between the people. So you actually feel like sympathy or like some sort of like, you actually care about Cheza, the flower girl, or you care about the wolves and you care about their bond together, but they never do that. Like, she's pretty much a damsel in distress character with no development and no characterization. She's very much a robot in this anime, and she's just, I'm trying to understand why they made her a girl, other than just to have her as a damsel in distress, rather than just having a flower. And that's pretty much what she was. I mean, she was a flower in the show, so I mean, it makes sense, but like, give her some depth or something. A lot of stuff happens in the show, which I'm not going to get into, I said that before, but it doesn't really amount to much. There were some interesting plot lines towards the end of the anime, and I mean like straight at the end of the anime, which like I was interested in, but they didn't have time to like flesh it out or develop it at all. Because it was straight up at the end, and I was wondering like, why didn't they flesh this out through the whole story, and they had different characters that were learning different things about their past and stuff, and I was like, why didn't they like set this out towards the end to have a little bit of foreshadow and have a little bit of psychological development with one character in particular? I mean, Hige. Adventure overall is kind of it's not really anything special. And they kind of do this kind of episodic style. I mean, it's kind of story arcs they kind of try to do here. And they didn't really lead to anything, and they weren't really interesting. It's kind of just them going out throughout the world. And another thing I have about the world is that, like, there's some things where, like, the post-apocalyptic world doesn't make any sense to me, like, on an overall level. Like, how is the landscape of the world? Because some places look barren, like a wasteland, and some of it looks like there's like trees and woods and forests and stuff, and I'm just like, how does that work? Like, how are there like some places look fine and some like, I'm not too sure like how far they go. Like, it's just, it feels like it's like right next to each other. Like, there's a post-apocalyptic desert, and then there's like trees and snow, and then next there's like post-apocalyptic desert again, and then there's like barren like woods or whatever. Like, it's very inconsistent. Like, I'm just like, well, how does this all work? Like, it's very weird. The main villain of the show, they try to have a main villain, and he's a noble, and basically he's not a human, but he's also not a wolf, but he's also a human and a wolf. Okay, so I just want to kind of get you, in that mindset of like, he's not a human or a wolf, but he turned into a wolf from a human. Okay, and that's a little bit of a spoiler. But I'm not going to say it is, because it's kind of just thrown in your face at the end of like the last episode. So they try to explain a lot of stuff in this with magic, and it's very apparent on the last episode of the anime. And what I mean by this is episode 26. I know there's 30 episodes, but I'll get into what I mean by the last episode. So basically, they tried to throw in a lot of techno babble bullshit in your face about fucking magic and how they're going to open up paradise and shit. And nigga, it doesn't make sense. It like, they're just like throwing so just like, we got this girl, why do we need to make her a girl? Like, why did we make her a girl? Why don't we just keep her a flower? Also, we got these wolves, why do we need the chosen one? How is there a chosen one? What is going on? And the main villain of the show, the one I told you, that's a wolf, but also not a wolf, but also not a human, but he is a human. And, he was the chosen one as well. And I'm just like, what is the chosen one? How do you decide who the chosen one is? Like, I'm not really understanding. They just throw everything in your face. And there was 4 recap episodes in this fucking show. What the fuck? 4 recap episodes. Episodes 16 through 20 were recap episodes. Why? Why do you need 4? And they did have, some voiceovers from the characters and stuff, but they didn't like lead to anything. It was just voiceovers, like telling you about what happened in the show up till that point. And I was like, why do you need 4 episodes? Like, why would you waste that amount of time, like, having recaps? And I kind of want to get into like the structure of how they kind of brought this show out. So they had episode 1 through 26, which came out, which was Wolf's Reign, and then they kind of episode 26 just was not the end, like because they just kind of ended it. Like there was no definite ending or whatever. Like you don't have to watch the OVA, but then they just kind of ended the show, episode 26, and it's like what the fuck. And they ended it in July 2003. And then they tried to have an OVA, they had the OVAs, which was 4 episodes, which then was like the end of the show. And they aired that in January of 2004. So you had to wait 5 months. 5 months to watch that. If I was back, 2003 and I was watching the show, what the fuck? Like, if I would have to wait 5 months to actually get an ending of this anime, good one. Like, like why would you? I don't know if there was like scheduling problems with like the network or whatever they were airing this show on or something like that. It was just like a small complaint. I'm not gonna bring it in like the show. I'm not gonna give it a big like fu to the show for that because there's some factors in that I might not know about. But it just felt like why would you structure it that way if it was just like a structuring thing they wanted to do? Like why would you? But I had to say the OVA overall was better than the actual show. And the reason for this, I felt like they had more time to like focus on what they did right in the show. They kind of realized that they kind of fucked up, maybe, and they focused on the old man and Blue, the characters that I said were good and actually had some development and some struggle and everything and self-identity and whatever, and finding their place in the world. And they really, they focused on that, and it did drag on a little bit. I have to say, the end of the show also dragged on. Like they didn't know when to stop. I felt like they're just like, well, when do we stop this show? When do we, when's the definite ending of the show? Because the OVA honestly could have been 2 episodes instead of 4. They really didn't need all that time. It did focus on the old man in blue, which was nice and it really helped. But overall, the show it helped a little, didn't help a lot. This led, though, I'm going to tell you basically the ending of the show. It's not, you pretty much can figure out the ending of the show in like the first like few episodes, because they kind of pretty much tell you. And also the OVA pretty much info dumps you the show, the ending of the show in the first episode of the OVA, which is kind of bullshit and really not necessary. But they kind of tell you, and they say it's a world reset. They say the world is going to reset at the end of this anime. And they tell you this straight to your face, and they're just like, world reset, really? Like, is this really how it's gonna go? And pretty much everyone dies. Like, I'm sorry, everyone dies in this anime, and it's not a spoiler because it's honestly, like, it's kind of a spoiler, okay, but like, like, none of the characters matter. Except the old man in blue. But like, all the characters die because the world resets. Basically, the world gets frozen over, and then in about half a day, paradise, because they never actually find paradise because paradise is actually the world reset. So the ice basically covers the whole world, and then about half a day, then the ice comes, back, and like, ice like freezes away or whatever, melts away. And then the world is reset, and then there's a whole bunch of flowers and stuff, and the world is basically reset. And I'm just like, don't know how I really felt about that ending. And then they kind of cut to like modern day, kind of like our society, and they show like all the people got reborn, and I'm just like, and it's like, that's a fine ending, but did you really have to reset the fucking world? Like, they didn't learn shit at the end if the world just got reset. Like, they don't have any memories of the past, and it just felt like I don't know if they're wolves still. Like, it doesn't really explain to you anything at the end either. Like, but overall, I'm getting some good points here. Some good points overall. The art did look good at some points. The animation was bad, but like the art did look good. There was this scene where they were running to paradise, and it did look good. I was like, wow. I was like, that scene does look good, and I actually did like it. This is probably one of the best soundtracks I've heard in an anime, honestly. And I'm not lying. Like, I'll play a little clip here of like one part of like the soundtrack of a song or whatever, of like what was going on, of a chant kind of thing. And here it is. So yeah, that was the clip, and I thought that sounded mesmerizing. Like, I was listening to that, I was like, that's very mesmerizing to me. And that was at a Native American settlement, which was actually an interesting place. I was really interested in this Native American settlement. It's actually really cool and really like down to earth and stuff, and felt grounded, and I felt like, but there was some magic in there, which I was like, oh god, but but which it was very weird. There was like there was these things where like there was fake paradise and real paradise, and like two fake paradises. Like it's all convoluted. It's all convoluted. But Native American settlement was really cool. There was this fight between wolves and between the wolves and this big ass fucking walrus that was like freaking 200 years old, and it it was pretty cool. And they tried to set that up for like development for the wolf boy, like the little boy wolf, and which was cool. But like this was like right at the end of the anime, and then they kind of revert him back to what he was before. Like his development kind of reversed again, and he went back to who he was. Like it was just like, why did you even have that if you weren't gonna do it? But the walrus fight did look cool. Overall, my thoughts about the show, I gotta say the show was kind of all over the place. They really kind of just threw anything they wanted in the show, and they just kind of said, hey, let's just explain this off with magic, or let's just have characters that don't amount to much except Blue and the old man. And they also had the two human characters that really didn't matter either, but it was fine. I mean, the show overall was pretty bad. Like overall, I don't hate the show. I feel like I enjoyed a lot of parts of it, but like it is like they just threw a lot in your face. Like if you just turn off your brain and watch the show, you're gonna like it. But like if you actually think about like what the fuck they're doing in the show, you're gonna be like, what the fuck? Overall, I would give the show a 3.5 out of 10. I'm not saying I hate the show. I do enjoy it, but the show critically is not that good, and it honestly doesn't make sense. Like they just throw anything in your face, and then there's a world reset and everything. Like feels like nothing got accomplished. It feels like stuff would have happened. I don't even know. But if you're looking for an anime that that's close to this one, then I suggest like Spice and Wolf, which is like an adventure type show, and the main girl is a wolf girl and everything, and she's like a god or whatever. So if you like adventure anime that actually has good characters and good relationships, then I would just suggest Spice and Wolf and everything. So yeah, if you've seen this anime, tell me what you guys think, because I thought it was like not that good but enjoyable at times. So tell me what you guys think, and I'll see you next time. I'm here